All right, so I have wasted a genuinely embarrassing amount of money on matcha. Expensive bad matcha, cheap bad matcha, beautiful tins with sad, dusty yellow green powder inside. And the frustrating part is almost every one of those mistakes was avoidable. There are maybe 5 things on a tin and in the bowl that tell you nearly everything, and once you can read them, you can basically not be fooled again. My name is Christian and I run a tea brand called OnewithTea, which means I've spent years standing in front of these shelves and standing in the fields where it's actually grown. So here's what I'll give you. 5 signals that separate good matcha from the stuff that's wasting your money, the order to check them in, and the honest truth about price, which is more interesting than expensive equals good, because, in the end, you will be shopping differently. And that's the whole point of this video, to give you more information about how you shop for matcha. So obviously signal number 1, the color, because it's the fastest and almost never lies. So real well-made matcha is vivid electric jade green, not olive, not khaki, not a tired yellow green. That bright color comes from chlorophyll and from the amino acid called L-theanine. And the plant only floods the leaf with those when it's being shaded from the sun for a few weeks before it's being harvested and when the powder is fresh. So when the matcha is dull yellowish and a bit gray, it's telling you a couple of things. Right? It's either older, the leaf wasn't really shade grown, or this kind of lower growth leaf instead of the top young leaves, right? So yeah, none of those things are a crime, but none of them are what you want to pay a premium for. So before you read a single word on the tin, look at the green. Bright green jade says yes. Dull and yellow is a polite no, okay? Signal number 2. Where is it from? And I mean specifically, not vaguely. A good tin tells you a region, Uji, Kyoto, Shizuoka, Kagoshima. Does it come from Japan? Which part of Japan? Does it come from China? Which part of China, right? A region means there's a real place, real soil, real people behind it. And when a package only says a product of more than one country, or it doesn't say anything at all, that's also information. And it usually means the leaf was, kind of blended, or nobody really knowing what's standing behind it, right? So, and another good sign is, usually organic certifications kind of have, the obligation to be able to trace back a tin or a product back to its source. So there's a little bit more hardening and rules when it comes to organics, okay? So that matters for taste, because for different reasons, generally taste is different, right? And the region and the sourcing where it comes from also matters for trust, because the more specific someone is willing to be about where the tea grew, the more they actually can stand behind it. So vague isn't hiding anything, or at least, not proud of anything. And one thing I want to be fair about, matcha's whole tradition actually began in China centuries ago. And there's good tea grown in lots of places. So this isn't about one country being bad. It's about whether anyone will tell you where it is really grown in terms of what's the specific region, okay? Third, and this one frees you, the great words on the front, ceremonial, premium, supreme, are mostly marketing, right? There's no official body handing those out. And I made a whole separate video on taking that apart, so I won't repeat it here. But the short version is, don't buy the adjective, right? And the adjective is usually ceremonial. Here's, what I would do, to read instead. Like usually on the small print, like what was it? The first harvest, the spring picking, sometimes called ichi bancha. Ichi means first, and ban means harvest, and cha means tea. So the first flush is the younger, sweeter, finer, higher grade teas, right? Then also, is it shade grown? Sometimes matcha, especially coming from different regions than Japan, sometimes not even shade grown, right? It's just ground, is the whole leaf is sometimes ground. That's what makes matcha is that, was it being shaded, right? And then is it being processed into tencha, right? How is it ground? Is it industrially ground or stone ground, right? And then when it comes to the first harvest, shade grown and stone ground, like those 3 words tell you more than ceremonial will, because they describe what's actually done, not how someone wants you to feel about the product, right? So signal number 4 is about price. And here's, well, I'll be straight with you in both directions. Real matcha can't be cheap. The math doesn't allow it. Like, the processing is also more intense. The finest matcha is, often hand-picked. Now, there's some really great matcha that is not hand-picked and industrially, grown and picked, of course. But yeah, first harvest, of course, only the young leaves on the top, shaded for 3 weeks, then ground carefully, and only a little slice of all the tea labeled matcha in the world is actually made that way, handpicked, right? So handpicked doesn't need to be the standard, but if you want to really go for a great matcha, look for those signals, right? So yeah, that's completely fine, right? So yeah, a gorgeous tin and a high price can still hide a dull and blended powder sometimes, and price is kind of like a floor, not a guarantee, right? So cheap can't be excellent, and expensive sometimes can still be mediocre, which is exactly why you want to check the region where it comes from, and if you see the product on social, the color, of course. So signal number 5 is the freshness and what the package protects. So 5th and last is the fresh, like how fresh is the leaves. 5th and last is the freshness, because matcha is more alive and more fragile than people treat it. Matcha fades fast once it meets light and air, heat and moisture. So the package itself is a signal. Good matcha comes in a sealed, opaque tin or pouch, never in a clear jar showing off the color on a sunny shelf, because that pretty display is literally degrading it. So if there is a harvest date or a Best Buy that is up very soon, then that brand is basically telling you they expect you to drink it fresh, which is actually a good sign, right? And when you get it, the first thing I always do is smell it. So fresh matcha smells like sweet, green, little oceanic. And if it smells flat or hay or like nothing, it's really, maybe it's just like the energy, the chi inside of the leaf has kind of like dissipated. It's kind of old, right? So trust your nose, and it knows before your tongue does. So here's what I've noticed after all the wasted money. Is learning to buy matcha well isn't really about matcha. It's about slowing down enough to look at what you're bringing into your morning. And most of us buy on autopilot when we're on Amazon. They buy the vibe, but tea asks you to pay a little bit more attention, and it pays you back in the cup when you take that time and look into the product that you buy. And that I feel is the entire relationship, honestly, right? I think attention in, quality out, right? Same in life, good input, good output. So yeah. So next time you're standing in front of the shelf, I hope you're not guessing anymore. Look at the region, skip the adjective, and read what's actually being done to the leaf. Let the price confirm it, and trust your nose once you open it. So yeah, if you ever want matcha, where we'll tell you the region and show you the harvest, that's what we do at OnewithTea. You can find the links below. But honestly, use this on any shelf, anywhere. That's what this is for. So slow down, sip the good stuff, and wish you something delicious in your cup.